Hi everyone, this is Mr. Nobody coming to you today. So what I wanted to talk about today, it's another reading from Making Nobody Happy. This is one that was sort of inspired by um, philosophical discussions, also some discussions that I've had with economists on things like the market. The market isn't something that's designed, it's just something that is. It's emergent. Emergent means it just sort of comes into existence. It arises from the interaction of a whole bunch of different factors and becomes what it is. It's not planned. It's sort of organic. And this is also a discussion that has come up with evolutionary psychologists and other groups. And so the question that I just want to talk about, I'm going to read to you about, is, are emergent systems moral? What is the moral status of adaptive evolved systems? It's not easy to say. They're emergent, they're unplanned. Morality is about choices, alternatives, consequences, and adherence to guiding principles. But evolved systems just are. You can't ask what the morality is of predation as such, of the fact that an enormous amount of animals survive by devouring other animals, or the fact that many animals have developed means to avoid or resist or counteract those attempts at predation that are essential to their identity. You can't ask what the morality is of bombardier beetles or skunks or parasitic wasps or intrauterine cannibalism in sharks, which is a real thing. Baby sharks eating each other in utero. What is the morality of having males risk their lives in competition for mates or in defense of the herd, or in maintaining physical features and displays that greatly increase their risk of death? What is the morality of having to gestate and feed a dependent organism with your own body in order to perpetuate your species, with all the costs and risks that entails? There simply isn't a simple answer to such questions, and morality, such as it is, may demand that we conform to and embrace many such evolved systems, from hunger to fear to sleep, despite the systemic and individual costs and dangers and problems they bring. Or at the least, life demands that we make our choices from within the constraints of these frameworks. Whatever it is that moral choice is about, it has to be about actual tangible choices and alternatives. There's no point in judging people for not taking alternatives that don't exist. Life is not lived in a vacuum of pure theory, although theoretical conceptualization can help us think through our options and their personal possible outcomes. Morality, as with evolved systems, seems to be aimed toward positive outcomes. But moral principles and conclusions are not necessarily distillable from any given outcome. The term positive outcome, after all, is up for debate and is in many ways defined and constrained by these non-moral evolved systems, established in some manner and time to which we don't have access. We didn't get to vote on most of what makes up the business of the biological world, the mechanisms that regulate it, or the principles that guide it. So how do these systems know what they're aiming at? That also is up for debate. Why does life seek certain outcomes, and what outcomes is it seeking? Insofar as life seeks the preservation of life, it has no trouble whatsoever accomplishing it by means of death. In fact, mostly by death. Apparently, the conditions of the universe are such that it is necessary and beneficial to do so. In order for the tiny fraction of life that exists today to exist, it is required that we have had the deaths of 1,000,000 times what that is to get to it. For a single, simple species to propagate and survive, the majority of all its young must die just to provide for a few surviving adults. And those adults must be the descendants of all the previous generations who have died and been left behind. And all kinds of other forms of life must die to sustain them during their lifetime. And in its own body, scores of cells have to die every day to be replaced by those that replace them, and finally those too will die. Life is but the tip of an iceberg, keeping itself above the waves, moment to moment in a storm, supported beneath every moment by a vast, depthless mountain of death that descends to the deepest abyss. And that's all I have to say for today. Thanks for tuning in.